Most people don't think about their credit score. Not when things are calm. Not when money feels normal. They think about it when something breaks. A loan gets rejected, a rent application disappears, a pre-approved offer suddenly isn't. And the worst part isn't the rejection, it's the silence. No explanation, no warning, just a quiet no, where a yes was expected. Your income is fine, your job is stable, you didn't do anything reckless, and still, the answer is no. That's because credit scores don't care about effort, they don't care about intention, they don't care about how hard you're trying right now. They care about patterns, quiet ones, boring ones, the kind you don't notice while they're forming, the kind that only show up after they've already shaped your options. By the end of this video, you'll understand what actually matters for credit scores in 2026. Not the myths, not the recycled advice, but the real factors that decide access, cost, and trust. And one of these is the reason many people stay stuck for years, without realizing they're the ones holding the door half closed. A credit score isn't a reward, and it isn't a punishment. It's a shortcut. A number designed to answer one question: how risky is this person right now? That's it. Not how smart you are, not how disciplined you feel, not what you plan to do next month, just patterns from the past. Think about that for a second. Your daily habits, your small financial decisions, even tiny missed payments, they all build a pattern. And that pattern can follow you for years, silently shaping opportunities. Two people can earn the same income and live very similar lives. One might get a loan approved instantly. The other might get flagged, delayed, or rejected, even if they both pay bills on time most of the time. Why? Because credit isn't about money. It's about behavior over time. Let me give you an example. Imagine two friends, Sarah and Michael. They both earn $4,000 a month. Sarah pays all her bills on the exact due date, tracks her credit, and keeps her balances low. Michael pays most bills, but sometimes forgets a card payment or maxes out his limit before paying it off. Over a year, their credit scores start to diverge, not because of income, not because of intelligence, but because of small, consistent patterns. And in 2026, these behaviors are being judged faster than ever. AI-driven systems update credit reports almost instantly. Transactions, payments, and balances are analyzed continuously. That means the patterns you're forming right now, this month, this week, even today, are influencing decisions immediately. A late payment from last week could already affect your next application. Small inconsistencies are no longer hidden in monthly or quarterly reports. It's not just banks anymore. Digital lenders, fintech apps, even some rental platforms now check these scores automatically. Your financial behavior is being scored constantly. And unlike before, there's often no human review, no one to explain why you were flagged, no one to override the algorithm. So here's the thing. Your credit score isn't personal judgment. It's a reflection of your habits, your reliability, and the story your money tells. Another example. Two people might have exactly the same debt. One uses it responsibly, keeps balances low, and pays on time. The other uses the same debt, but inconsistently, sometimes late, sometimes near the limit. Their scores could be hundreds of points apart. The difference? Patterns, consistency, rhythm. By understanding this, you realize that building good credit isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up day after day with small, responsible actions. And in 2026, because the system updates so quickly, those small actions compound faster than ever. A consistent rhythm now can open doors immediately. Inconsistent habits now can close them just as quickly. Most advice out there makes it sound like nothing has changed, that old tricks still work, that credit scores are slow to update, that you have time. But in 2026, that's not the case. Credit scoring became faster, smarter, more automated. Algorithms now evaluate your financial patterns continuously, not once a month, not once a quarter. Every transaction, every payment, every little balance movement is being tracked. Imagine this. You pay your rent a day late, 2 days late. Most people used to shrug it off. A late payment would show up in the next statement, and you'd have time to recover. Today, that pattern is already being logged, already influencing your score, already shaping the decisions lenders make, sometimes before you even notice it. Fintech platforms, digital lenders, even some rental services now check scores automatically. No human review, no explanation, no chance to negotiate, just the number reacting to your pattern. And the models themselves have changed. Take FICO 10T, for example. They don't just look at a snapshot of your balance or payment this month. They look at movement over time, how consistently you pay, how reliably you use credit, how steady your rhythm is. For example, 2 people both have a credit card. Person A pays it fully on time every month. Person B pays it late once each month. Individually, that late payment seems small, but month after month, the pattern emerges and the system sees it. That's enough to make a difference in approvals, interest rates, or even access to new accounts. That's why old advice, just pay off your debt once, doesn't cut it anymore. Opening a new account isn't a magic score booster. Short bursts of effort don't override long-term patterns. The rhythm matters more than the size of the move. The pattern matters more than the individual action. And that's where confusion sets in for most people. They see a rejection and think, I'm doing everything right. They don't realize the system is reading the quiet story of their financial habits, day by day, week by week, month by month. So the takeaway here, credit scoring in 2026 isn't slower, it's smarter, it's faster. It's watching the patterns that your actions create, not the intentions behind them. Before we talk about the actions that actually move your score, I want to clear the air on some common misunderstandings. Many people assume that improving a credit score comes from big, dramatic actions. Paying off a loan in one go, getting a raise, opening a new credit card. The truth is, credit scores don't work that way. They respond to small, consistent behaviors. The same habits, repeated month after month, quietly build or erode trust. For example, imagine 2 friends, Lisa and Daniel. Lisa pays every single bill on the due date, tracks her balances carefully, and keeps her credit card utilization low. Daniel pays most bills, but sometimes forgets a card payment or maxes out a card before paying it off. Over a year, their scores start to diverge significantly. It's not the income, it's not intelligence, it's small, consistent actions that tell lenders a story. The same principle applies to other behaviors. Opening a new account might feel like progress, but if you do it without managing your existing accounts, it can actually signal risk. Paying off one debt entirely is good, but if you continue to be inconsistent elsewhere, the effect is muted. Credit scores don't respond to effort bursts, they respond to rhythm. It's about showing up every month, every payment, every statement. Most people get tripped up because they expect dramatic results from dramatic moves. The system isn't designed that way. So if sudden, big moves don't make the difference, what do credit scores actually respond to? In 2026, only a handful of behaviors carry most of the weight. Not everything matters equally. Some behaviors barely move the needle at all. And there's one factor that still sits above the rest. Not because it's new, but because it's always been the foundation: payment history. Once you understand this, everything else starts to make sense. Payment history still runs everything. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's repetitive. Every bill is a question. Did you pay on time or not? Miss once? Recoverable. Your score might dip a little, but it's not the end of the world. Miss occasionally? Concerning. Lenders start seeing a pattern forming. Miss often? That's a story they don't trust. Let me give you an example. If you forget a single phone bill, your credit might drop slightly, but it's manageable. Miss 3 in a row though, lenders start raising red flags, even if everything else in your finances looks fine. And here's the part people often underestimate. The system doesn't care why you were late. Had the money but forgot? Same result. Busy month? Same result. Plan to pay tomorrow? Still the same. Consistency is everything. The system is watching patterns, not intentions. In 2026, these updates happen fast, sometimes within days. A late payment today could already influence decisions tomorrow. That's why consistency beats perfection. Always. So yes, payment history builds trust. It tells the system, this person shows up. But trust alone isn't the full picture, because the next question lenders ask is, how close are they to their limit? And that's where credit utilization comes in. It tells lenders more about your breathing room than a single late payment ever could. Credit utilization. This one confuses people more than almost anything else. You can pay every bill on time and still look risky. That's because utilization tells a different story. It doesn't ask whether you pay. It asks, how close are you to the edge? Imagine this. You have a credit card with a $1,000 limit, and your balance regularly sits around $900. You pay it off every month. No missed payments, no penalties. From your point of view, that feels responsible. But from the system's point of view, it looks like pressure. It looks like someone who needs almost all the credit they're given just to get through the month. So even if you pay in full, the system assumes risk. That's why utilization matters so much. It's not judging your intentions, it's measuring your margin. Below 30% isn't magic, it's a signal. It says, I have room, I'm not stretched, I could handle something unexpected. High utilization says the opposite. It says your finances leave little breathing space. That one disruption, a delayed paycheck, an emergency expense, could push things over the edge. And here's where people get caught off guard. Utilization isn't just checked once, it's checked continuously. So if your balance is high most of the month and only drops after you pay, the system still sees that pressure. That's why some people feel like they're doing everything right and still don't see improvement. They're paying responsibly, but they're operating too close to the limit. Utilization shows stress. It shows dependency. It shows how much slack you actually have. And then there's another layer the system looks for: time. Because anyone can behave well for a few months. Anyone can tighten up briefly. Not everyone can do it for years. That's why account age matters. There's a quiet mistake a lot of people make. Not because they're careless, but because they're trying to simplify their finances. They clean things up, close old accounts, remove what feels unnecessary. And they don't realize they just erased proof. You see, once the system understands how stretched you are, it asks something quieter. How long has this been working? That's what account age answers. Old accounts feel useless, so people close them. And then they wonder why their score dips. Account age is trust, not activity, not excitement. Just proof that time passed and things didn't fall apart. It's evidence that you've handled credit through different seasons. Calm months, busy months, unexpected ones. Shortening that history shortens the story lenders can see. Imagine this. You close a credit card you've had for 10 years. Your payments were fine, your balance was low. Then you open a brand new card and use it responsibly. From your perspective, nothing went wrong. But to the system, a long chapter just disappeared. Your average account age drops. The timeline shrinks. The picture becomes less certain. Age shows stability. It shows that nothing collapsed over time, that you didn't disappear when things got boring, that responsibility wasn't temporary. But stability alone isn't enough, because the system also wants to know something else. Can you manage more than one obligation at once? That's what credit mix reveals. Credit mix isn't really about debt. It's about range. Once the system has seen that you can be consistent, and once it's seen that you've been stable over time, it asks a different kind of question. Can this person handle more than one responsibility at once? Not perfectly, not aggressively, just steadily. A single credit card tells one story. A card plus a small loan tells a fuller one. Add a payment plan or installment loan, and the system starts to see range. Credit mix isn't about how much you owe. It's about whether different obligations can exist side by side without something slipping. Here's a simple example. Two people both have good payment history. Both keep balances low. Both have similar incomes. One has only ever used a single credit card. The other has a card, a small personal loan, and once financed a phone, all paid on time. Neither is better in real life. But to the system, the second person looks more proven, not because of debt, but because they've shown they can juggle different structures without losing control. Credit mix shows capability. It shows adaptability. It answers the question, if things get slightly more complex, will this still hold together? But there's a catch. Range only helps when it's built slowly, because the same system that rewards balance gets nervous when things move too fast. That's why application behavior matters next. This is where things often slip without people noticing. Because capability isn't the problem, speed is. Every application tells a story too. Not a detailed one, not a sympathetic one, just a signal. One application says, "I need something." That's normal. Several applications close together say something else. "I'm under pressure." And here's the part most people miss. The system doesn't know why you're applying. It doesn't know if you're being strategic, curious, or careful. It doesn't see context. It only sees speed. Here's an example. Imagine someone applies for a credit card, then 2 weeks later applies for another, then a personal loan, then a buy now, pay later plan. Individually, none of these are bad decisions, but together they form a pattern. To the system, it looks like urgency, like instability, like someone trying to plug gaps quickly. And systems don't ask follow-up questions. They don't pause to interpret intent. They just react. That's why people are often surprised by denials. They didn't feel reckless. They felt proactive. But credit scoring doesn't reward urgency. It rewards spacing. It rewards patience. It rewards restraint. Application behavior is about timing. It's about showing that credit isn't being chased, that it's being used deliberately. And this is where everything connects. Payment history shows reliability. Utilization shows pressure. Account age shows stability. Credit mix shows capability. Applications show stress. None of these factors work alone. They stack. They overlap. They tell one continuous story. And most people don't damage their credit in one dramatic moment. They drift. They apply a little too often. They react instead of plan. They lose control of the rhythm. That's where things quietly fall apart. What actually works? When you manage multiple credit types responsibly, you might think you're safe. But even capable people can trip over timing, patterns, or bursts of inconsistent behavior. Applications piling up, sudden changes in usage, or gaps in payments. These are subtle signals the system notices. Most people don't fail at credit because they're reckless. They drift. They fix things in bursts, then disappear. They care intensely for a short while, then forget. Imagine someone who pays everything on time for 2 months, then disappears for 6. Or someone who opens a new card to pay off a balance, but forgets about an old one. These small, inconsistent actions quietly add up. Credit doesn't respond to effort. It responds to rhythm, consistency, repetition, steady patterns over time. That's why progress feels slow, not because it's impossible, but because it's quiet. Because the system notices behavior over months and years, not hours or days. So what actually moves the needle? Here's what consistently builds trust and lifts scores. Pay every bill on time, every time. Keep utilization low. Avoid running close to your limits. Avoid opening accounts back to back, which signals scrambling. Check your report regularly so errors don't linger unnoticed. Let old accounts age, even if they feel unnecessary. None of this is dramatic. None of it is flashy. None of it happens overnight. But it works, day after day, month after month. Small, consistent actions. That's the rhythm the system rewards. Example: two people have the same debt and income. One pays responsibly and steadily, the other occasionally misses payments or maxes out cards. Over time, the first person's score grows steadily, opening doors. The second person drifts, experiences rejections, and struggles to recover. The difference? Consistency. Rhythm. Showing up. In 2026, with real-time updates and AI-driven evaluations, those small, steady actions compound faster than ever. The system isn't slow anymore. It reacts quickly to patterns, whether good or bad. Let's pause for a moment and recap what really moves your credit score. It's not big gestures. It's the small, consistent actions repeated over time. Pay your bills on time, every time. Keep your balances low so you show breathing room. Let your accounts age. Old accounts build trust. Use a mix of credit responsibly, showing you can handle more than one obligation. Be mindful of applications. Don't apply for many at once. In short, it's about consistency, rhythm, and patterns, not sudden effort or clever tricks. Keep these in mind because everything else, the little tips, the avoid this advice, only matters if you've got the foundation right. Time to clear the air on some things many people get wrong about credit. Checking your score? It doesn't hurt it. Making only minimum payments? That doesn't move the needle much. Avoiding credit entirely? That doesn't build trust with the system. Most of the damage people experience isn't from obvious mistakes. It's not from missing one payment or accidentally overspending once. It comes from misunderstanding how the system thinks, from missing the patterns that matter over time. Think about it. You might avoid getting a credit card for years, thinking, I'm being cautious, I don't want debt. From your perspective, that seems responsible. But the system sees something very different. No activity, no track record, no proof that you can handle credit responsibly. Without that history, opportunities are quietly limited. Or imagine someone who pays off a big loan aggressively, showing discipline in one area, but they ignore other small recurring payments, utilities, phone bills, or subscription services. The system notices the gaps. It doesn't reward one-time heroics. It rewards patterns, consistency, and rhythm. That's what builds trust over time. Here's the takeaway. A credit score isn't a measure of your worth. It isn't a judgment on your intelligence, ambition, or potential. It's your footprint, a record of how you move through responsibility, one decision at a time. Every payment you make, every balance you maintain, every account you keep open or close, all of these form a trail that the system reads silently, constantly. And in 2026, those footprints matter more than ever. Not because the system is fair, not because it evaluates your intentions, but because it's fast. Every transaction, every payment, every application is being evaluated in near real time. The patterns you form today, this week, this month, already influence your next opportunity. So, if this video helped you understand what's actually happening behind the scenes, you're better prepared to make the small, steady decisions that truly move the needle. To show up consistently, day after day, with responsible habits that stack over time. And stay tuned for the next video. I'll break down how long it really takes to fix a credit score and why most timelines you see online are quietly misleading.